Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3910b, and today's date is May 21st, 2026, and the title of the episode is Swamp is Being Drained. Scavino sends a message. This has never been attempted. Military-civilian alliance. Now, you know what's interesting? A bombshell study just revealed that GLP-1 drugs don't actually work the same for everyone. Your genes determine whether the injections work at all and whether you'll suffer the side effects. At nearly $1,000 a month, that's a brutal gamble millions of Americans are unknowingly taking. This is why I'm obsessed with GLP-1 Elevate. Instead of a pharmaceutical gamble, it uses clinical studied plant-based ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own GLP-1 signals. The ones controlling hunger and fullness. No prescription, no needle, no generic lottery. I get fewer cravings, feel fuller faster, and actually keep my results without the metabolic crash. Get 51% off at trimwithx22.com. Every order includes free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day money-back guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Head to trimwithx22.com now before the offer expires, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you could see slowly but surely Trump is draining the swamp. And I do believe that's going to accelerate as time goes on. But you have to remember, just like we said yesterday, he needs to remove a lot of the guards that have been protecting the swamp creatures. Remember, the non-elected swamp creatures are the ones that Trump is actually going after. Yes, you have the guards like Pelosi and Schumer and Raskin and Schiff. They're in the way. They're protecting the entire system. They're the ones who make laws or try to prevent laws. They're the ones who are doing this. And it's not just in D.C. like we said before. It's across the country. And when you look at the entire system and you step back and you take a look at how it works, you could see that they are there to protect it. And yes, they use low-level people to push their operation forward, like the money laundering. When you look at the Somalis, when you look at Medicaid, when you look at hospice, when you look at all this that's being done, these lower-level people, they're not the brainchild of the operation. Yes, they're receiving funds. Yes, they're getting very wealthy. But do you really believe they're the ones who figured it out? Do you really believe they're the ones who are doing all this and the other politicians, they have no idea what's going on? I'm talking about like in Minnesota, Walt. You think those in D.C. don't know what's going on? Of course they do. Actually, that is the tell. That's how you know they know. Because again, if they were truly on the up and up, they would want to go after those criminals. They would want to go after those people that are laundering the money. But you have to remember, when they launder the money at many different levels, they're getting kickbacks through the system. When it passes from NGO to shell company down to these people, those people that are on the ground level, like the Somalis and the individual that just got arrested today and indicted, those people are at the ground level. But every level, money is being taken from what they're doing, and it's funding their system. This is why you have Walt and all the others pretending they have no idea that this was happening. Because if they were truly on the side of good and they want to, cut out corruption and track these people down, they would do it. This tells you everything you need to know about these people. It's always the people that are involved that don't do anything. Pretend they don't know about it. Pretend that it's not really happening, because they're the ones who are getting money at various levels of the system, and they don't want anyone to track it back to them. This is why they'll never assist in going after these people. And what you're seeing today is just a very small piece of it. But again, if you're going to educate the public and make them understand what was going on, that's where you need to start. Then you move from that point and you follow the money. Where did it come from? What NGOs did it pass through? Who else was in charge? Who authorized all of this? And I do believe that is what's going to happen in the end. Do you think these people are going to flip? You think these people are going to sing? You think these people are going to say, listen, I was told to do this. This is how they set me up. Somebody is orchestrating it all. And I think we know who. But think about what Trump is doing so we can go after these people. He's removing the guard. Now, some people are a little bit easier to remove. Some people can be fired. The people in the agency can be fired. But those elected officials, well, you actually have to beat them in an election to get rid of them, unless you can do an investigation and show that they have criminal activity. But again, I think Trump has taken the route of saying, you know something, let's get rid of the rhinos. Let's put our patriots into place. Let's have the patriots then beat those other people, take their seats, and remove the swamp, drain the swamp. And that is what we're witnessing right now. The swamp is being drained at every level right now. And fraud is being exposed at every level. Because again, what is this all about? This is about tracking all of this to the major players. That is what is going on right now. And without the people, without the military, Trump would not be able to do this. And this is why he created the counterinsurgency. I know we keep saying this quite a bit, but the counterinsurgency is made up the people, of the military, and the president and the executive branch. He needed all three. It's a military-civilian alliance to go after a rebellion. I mean, this has really never been attempted before. And Trump used this plan and took the long path so we can go after these people, so we would have the strength to do it, so the people would be behind the investigations. And what's very interesting, just because Trump pretends he doesn't know what's going on, and he says, wow, that's interesting, or gives people compliments, or makes it seem like, hey, look, I brought this person on, and I had no idea that he was going against me. Just because he does these things doesn't mean he's not doing it for a reason. It doesn't mean he doesn't know who these people are. It doesn't mean that he doesn't understand how to get these people. Remember, he came up with a plan long ago, and he uses very different tactics than people normally would use to go after these people. He uses the art of war, the art of the deal. And sometimes his tactics don't seem like he's doing anything, or it might even seem like he's being fooled by certain people, but he is not. Actually, Dan Scavino sent out a message letting everyone know that this is how he operates. The optics are very, very good, and he uses it to his benefit. Because again, those people that are ego-driven, those people that think they're getting one over on him, he uses that to his advantage to trap these people, because they look at him going, he has no idea what he's doing. He has no idea what's going on. He knows this. He uses this. He brings the people into exactly where he wants them. And all those people that are watching Trump saying, oh, he should do it this way, do it that way. No, Trump knows exactly what he's doing. He planned this a long time ago, every step of the way. And yes, he has different paths to take depending on what the enemy does. And he's been using this since the beginning. Because again, you think, because you have expectations, that you go directly at your enemy. But if you ever read The Art of War, you don't go directly at your enemy. You actually set it up so you have the leverage to go after your enemy. You make sure that your enemy is weak. And sometimes you have to take the long path around everything to set everything up. That is what he's been doing. And every time these influencers, every time these people come out and say, oh, no, the Democrats are going to win. Oh, no, the rhinos are no, they're not. Because, again, he's playing them, every single one of them. And this is why it confuses people. Look what just happened during the primaries. What do you think is going to happen during the midterms? You see, if Trump removes, which I do believe he's going to do, removes their cheating mechanisms, removes their ability to manipulate the elections, and actually sets up the voter ID, the paper ballots, one day voting, what do you think is going to happen during the election? You're going to see the D's, they're going to get pretty much nothing, no votes. Actually, I think Trump already sent that message out. He put out a graphic showing the percentage of what he was going to get during the election. I think this was a prediction market. And what Kamala was going to get. And Kamala was at 1%. Why would he put that up now? That's interesting. Is he letting us know that all the votes that Kamala got above the 1% was fake? Do you really believe that Biden got 81 million votes hiding in his basement? Think about it. Why are the results for Democrats very, very close from president to president to president, except for Biden. And then Kamala, they brought even with all the other presidents. Because once again, this is how they fool you. This is how they manipulate the elections. And like we said before, the entire system is going to be turned upside down. Going from the economy, going to the election system, going to the money that's sent abroad, you name it, all the wars, everything is going to be shut down. Everything the deep state, the central bankers have set up is going to be shut down. Because you have to remember, Trump is restructuring the entire country and the world. And step by step, he's draining the swamp. And yes, he had to go abroad. He had to remove the deep state layers in the different countries. He had to make sure those were shut down. He needed to make sure that they didn't have the control. This is what he's been doing. Plus, he had to take the executive branch agencies and actually reverse their priorities. Before, they were there to protect the entire system. The FBI was there to protect the system. They weren't there to go after criminals. The DOJ was not to prosecute criminals. It was to prosecute anyone that attempted to go after their system. So if someone tried to make a move or do something, they would use the executive branch to go after those people. Trump now is reversing the policies and bringing these agencies back to their original intent. The DOJ was supposed to protect the rights of the people, go after the bad criminals, prosecute them, go after any state that violates the Constitution, challenge them on that, bring it up to the Supreme Court. It's the same thing with the FBI. This is why Comey is panicking right now. This is why he told his people to actually activate. And I do believe that's part of Scavino's message, which we'll be talking about in a little bit. But like we said before, the FBI now is going after the criminals, and they're shutting down the entire criminal organization. And when you look at what they just did, it's absolutely amazing. So basically, the FBI has now shut down a major international fraud scheme centered in India. It's been dismantled because this system was a call center, and it was scamming hundreds of elderly Americans out of their money. FBI Boston put this out and said, your FBI has shut down a call center operation in India that defrauded hundreds of elderly victims here in the U.S. and abroad out of millions of dollars through tech support scams. And two senior executives who operated a business that enabled it have just been admitted to turning a blind eye to the widespread fraud. This comes after FBI Boston investigation that has resulted in the arrest and convictions of a former employee of their call routing company and 5 India-based telemarketing fraudsters. Our citizens deserve honor, respect, and protection. And if you target them, we will do everything we can to bring you to justice. Absolutely. And think about it. You don't think the deep state players were involved with this? You don't think they were involved in taking some of the money? Of course they were. And think about what the FBI has done right now. They have lowered the crime. You have to remember, the deep state players, they like the crime. They're criminals themselves. And by having all this crime, it's a huge distraction. Plus, it allows their system to make more and more money. How do you do that? Well, if you want us to get rid of the crime, we're going to need more money to do this. Oh, look, there's more crime. We're going to need more money. You don't need any more money. You just need people that are going to actually do the job. FBI Director Kash Patel put this out and said, President Trump's FBI made needed changes. This is the result. And when you look at the crime stats, the crime has dropped by 1.1 million. This is the largest drop in crime rate in nearly 90 years. So violent crime fell across the United States in 2025, rates not seen in close to a century. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter plummeted by more than 18% nationwide last year, while aggravated assault dropped by more than 7%. Violent crime on the whole dipped by about 9.3% last year. The 2025 crime data in this report shows that the single largest decrease in violent crime and murder since 1937, as well as a huge decrease across the board in terms of aggravated assault, rape, and robbery. And you could see that this has come way, way down. And this is why Comey was out there saying, oh, look, FBI, they're padding the results. No. What's happening right now is they changed the course of the FBI. And basically, I think what Comey was doing is saying, listen, those people that are in the agency don't believe that, don't believe what's really happening. And he was actually speaking to the sleepers. And I do believe he's telling them to be activated, which we'll be getting into just a sec by the end of the report. So you could see that things are now completely and utterly changing. And Trump now has the agencies where he wants them. And he's moving forward with that. And it's just going to get worse and worse for the deep state players because they never expected or never wanted this to happen. Remember, they lost their firewall. They lost their protection. And now they're struggling. They lost their ability to get intelligence because a lot of the players, their access has been cut off. And now they're struggling right now. They have no idea what's really happening. This is why the fake news keeps coming up with fake stories just out of the blue, which is very easy to debunk because they're not getting that information that they need anymore to make it seem real. They've been cut off completely, and they're continually being cut off. So now they just make things up, which actually makes it a lot easier for people to say, this is a fake story. It's a lot easier for the Trump administration to come out and say, it's a fake story. Remember, in his first term, Trump figured out what the fake news was doing, who was feeding them the information. And when you cut all of that out, guess what happens? It's very easy to prove that they're putting out fake information. It's very easy to debunk. So they don't have that leverage anymore, and it's completely and utterly falling apart. And you can see the deep state players, they're trying to stay in power across the world. I mean, if you take a look at Bolivia, it's absolutely unbelievable. Christopher Landau put this out and said, let there be no mistake. Those who lost overwhelmingly at the ballot box in Bolivia last year are trying to overthrow President Rodrigo Paz by organizing riots and blockades with the support of organized crime and drug traffickers. I spoke with my friend President Paz this afternoon and assured him that the United States stands squarely in support of Bolivia's legitimate constitutional government and rejects this attempt to substitute the institutional order with mob rule. Secretary Marco Rubio says, let there be no mistake. The United States stands squarely in support of Bolivia's legitimate constitutional government. We will not allow criminals and drug traffickers to overthrow democratically elected leaders in our hemisphere. Absolutely. And you can see the deep state players. What are they trying to do? They're trying to get back in power. Is this going to work? Absolutely not. And you can see they're trying to hold onto power in Cuba, hold on to power in Iran, hold on to power in Ukraine. And I do believe what Trump is doing right now, he's shutting down all of the deep state operation centers right now. Venezuela is already taken care of. He went in, removed Maduro. Now he indicted multiple people in Cuba. And remember, the dictator, Raul Castro, even though he's not the president, he's calling the shots from behind the scenes. But if we go back a little bit in time, and Enrique Alejandro put this out, Obama, who was trying to convince everyone that he had good relations with Cuba, well, he was dealing with a communist nation. He was dealing with dictators. He was dealing with the deep state players. And while Trump is indicting Cuban communist dictator Raul Castro, Obama was attending a baseball game with him in Havana. So acting AG Tom Lynch says, over 3 decades later, we're committed to holding those accountable for the murders of 4 brave Americans, Carlos Costa, Armando Alejandre Jr., Mario de la Pena, and Pablo Morales. For the first time in nearly 70 years, senior leadership of the Cuban regime have been charged in the United States for alleged acts of violence resulting in the deaths of American citizens. POTUS and this Justice Department are committed to restoring a simple principle. If you kill Americans, we will pursue you, no matter who you are, no matter what title you hold. Absolutely. Then we have FBI Director Kash Patel. He put this out. In 1996, 4 brothers to the rescue members, including 3 U.S. citizens, took off from Florida on a humanitarian mission to help rafters fleeing Castro's Cuba. Cuban MiGs shot their civilian planes out of the sky over international waters. Carlos Costa, Armando Alejandro Jr., Mario de la Pena, Pablo Morales. For 30 years, their families waited for answers. The FBI never forgot. Today's of superseding indictment charges, Raul Castro and 5 Castro regime co-defendants with conspiracy to kill U.S. nationals, 2 counts of destruction of aircraft, and 4 counts of murder and is a major step toward accountability. And you can see they're already setting it up to go into Cuba, because I do believe the peace talks in Cuba, they're not going to work. Just like with Venezuela. I think Trump knows this. He gives these people a chance. And he knows the deep state players are going to push back as hard as they possibly can. Because you have to remember, the deep state players, they know if they just give up, it's game over for them. So I do believe every course of action that Trump takes to go after these people, they're going to fight back to the very end. And he knows he has to have a certain plan in place to actually go after them. This is what we saw in Venezuela. We're going to see in Cuba. Is it going to be exactly what we saw in Venezuela? I think Trump might change it up a little bit. So this way it keeps everyone on their toes. Clandestine put this out and said, oh yeah, Cuba's next. Raul Castro is no longer officially president, but he is part of the deep state brain trust that controls Cuba. He's the shadow leader. It looks like Trump is about to purge Cuba of deep state influence and return Cuba to her people, just like Venezuela. Then Clandestine says, why is the indictment of Castro such a big deal? Because it signals that Trump is removing deep state influence over Cuba. Trump is undoing the damage the CIA has done over the decades and fixing destabilized nations. It also signals Russia and China's influence is being removed from Cuba and the Western Hemisphere as a whole. I don't think it's a coincidence that as soon as Trump returns from his visit with Xi, we are now seeing movement on Cuba, while Trump is also seemingly backing off on Taiwan. This fits into my overall thesis that Trump, Xi, Putin have agreed to consolidate spheres of influences and stay out of each other's yards. In order to make this happen, all nations with deep state influence must be purged, and Cuba has been a CIA hotbed since 1959. The deep state is not just corrupt U.S. politicians. It's a global terrorist organization that has embedded itself and overtaken nations around the world, Cuba being one of the most notable. The entire global network is being cleaned up and dismantled, and that is absolutely true. And you can see that Trump, he got the green light saying, listen, you remove yourself from these regions, we're going to clean all of this up. In the end, what we're going to have peace. We're going to have commerce. We're not going to have it at the deep state players and the central bankers in our business. All of that is going to be gone. And I do believe that he spoke to Putin, he spoke to Xi. They're all on the same exact page. And you can see that now everything is going to be shut down. And the deep state players are going to fight back with everything they have. But in the end, it's not going to work. It's not going to work at all. The Department of State says, and this coming from Trump, we have a lot of people in Cuba. We have the CIA there. Secretary Rubio is from there. So we have a lot of expertise. We're going to help the Cuban people out. We're freeing up Cuba. So we already have boots on the ground. We have boots on the ground in Mexico and a lot of the Central American countries, South America, and we have boots on the ground in Cuba. So I do believe that Trump, when he talked about land-based operations, this is what he's talking about. So let's see how this all plays out in the end. But I do believe what we're going to see is we're going to see how Trump basically removes the deep state players from these nations, and these nations become free. The opposition is then released from prison. The opposition then can run for government office. The opposition then can work with the United States. I think we're about to see the entire world change, the entire structure that the deep state players have set up over a long time ago. It's all about to come crashing down around them. And you could see that the Iranians, the proxy army, I don't mean the people of Iran, I'm talking about the proxy army of Iran, who is taking instructions from Obama, Hillary Clinton, and everyone else. It looks like they just got their orders from the deep state players, Obama, Hillary Clinton, and those above them, to never allow the U.S. to get the uranium. Unusual Whales put this out and says, Iran's supreme leader has ordered that uranium must stay in Iran. Why are they so worried about the uranium? Do they really need the uranium, or are they protecting somebody else? Well, they're protecting the deep state players, and it looks like they were instructed not to give this up. But it seems that Trump definitely has the upper hand. He put this out on Truth, pointing to a New York Post article saying that Trump has the upper hand. And basically, here's how to crush Tehran in 3 moves. So Trump right now must sustain the blockade and accompanying economic warfare to destabilize the regime's hold on the state. remake the world in America's energy dominance image to mitigate long-term price impacts while undermining China's global ambition to defeat the United States, and order the U.S. military to forge a path through the Strait of Hormuz to restore freedom of navigation on our terms, not Tehran's. And that's exactly what he's doing. So when you look at this, you could see that Trump right now is decentralizing oil across the world. You have to remember the central bankers going back way back in time. They centralized the price of oil, and that was in the Middle East. Kissinger did this going back to the 60s. In 1971, we came off the gold standard. We went onto the petrodollar system. And they made sure that they had centralized control over the price. They created OPEC during this period of time. Actually, a little bit before that, OPEC was created, and then they went full boat with OPEC. And that was a centralized mechanism to control the production and the price of oil. They used fear in the Strait of Hormuz to control the price of oil. This is why in the United States, we're energy independent. We can drill like crazy. But again, the price is being set overseas. So we don't get our oil from Iran. But if you notice, as soon as Trump went into Iran, the price went up. Trump now is shutting all of that down, because if we're going to become a manufacturing powerhouse and we're going to be energy independent, we can't have a system that was created by the central bank system control our prices. So Trump now is in the process of decentralizing the price of oil. He's opened the market up in Venezuela. He's going to be opening up the market in the Middle East. OPEC will probably be destroyed. Russia will be able to sell oil across the globe. The U.S. is going to be selling oil. Canada is going to be selling oil. Many other countries are going to be selling oil, which means you're going to have competition. If you have competition, what's going to happen? Oil prices are going to come way, way down. All right, quick break to talk about something I've just started using, Rumble Wallet. If you've ever been curious about buying and investing in crypto, Bitcoin, stablecoins, USAT, or even gold-backed stablecoins, but felt like it was too complicated, Rumble Wallet is an easy way to get started. You can buy, sell, and manage your cryptocurrencies all in one place, and the app is super straightforward. What really makes Rumble Wallet unique is that you can use it to tip your favorite creators like me and support the freedom-first community we've built here on Rumble. Getting started is simple. Just download the Rumble Wallet app, sign up with your existing Rumble account, no need for a new logon, complete a few security steps, and you're set up in minutes. You could start with just a few dollars, and with MoonPay built into Rumble Wallet, you can easily buy crypto using your credit card, debit card, or bank wire. So if you're thinking about the advantages of crypto, download Rumble Wallet now. Click my link in the description or search Rumble Wallet in your app store. Download Rumble Wallet today and move your assets to where they belong, in your hands, in your control. So just click the link in the description. And if oil prices are way, way down, that means we have cheap energy. If we have cheap energy, what can we do? We can manufacture very, very cheaply. This is why Trump has been telling everyone he doesn't want Iran to get a nuclear weapon, because if they have a nuclear weapon, we would never be able to remove the control that they have, because they would use a nuclear weapon. We'd have nuclear war. This is why he had to go in right now. And you can see that Trump now is just waiting it out, waiting for the regime to collapse, which it will, because eventually they will not be able to operate. Plus, you could see those people and the actual army in Iran, they're going to get very angry, very pissed off, and they're going to say enough is enough, because how much can the country take? And I'm not talking about just the regime. I'm talking about the Iranian army that's not part of the IRGC and the people of Iran. Tosi TV put this out and said, armed clashes erupt across multiple major cities in Iran. Confirmed fighting reported in Tehran, Tabriz in the northwest, Avaz in the south, and Isfahan in the center, near key nuclear facilities, including Natanz. Verification took hours due to a flood of disinformation, an ongoing internet shutdown inside Iran. Zero internet access, with only some using Starlink, is slowing communications as the situation unfolds. The Iran Watcher says armed clashes between the Iranian army and the IRGC are reportedly erupting inside Iran. According to Al-Hurra, citing informed military and political sources inside Iran, tensions between the regular army and the IRGC have escalated into armed confrontations in Tehran, Tabriz, and all the other places we just mentioned, following the death of Khomeini. If true, this points to serious fractures inside the Islamic Republic's military and security apparatus at one of the most dangerous moments in the regime's history. The backdrop here is important. The founder of the Islamic Republic, Ayatollah Khomeini, originally created the IRGC because he feared a military coup from the regular Iranian army after the revolution. Over decades, the regime transformed the IRGC into a parallel military empire, giving it more funding, political influence, economic control, and ideological favoritism than the regular army. While the army was often sidelined and distrusted, the IRGC became the regime's real power center, controlling major sectors of the economy, missile forces, intelligence operations, and proxy networks across the region. Now think about this. Trump let us know a while back that their weapons were pouring into Iran. Now they have economic problems within Iran. Their navy's gone. Air Force is gone. The small boats are gone. A lot of their leadership is gone. And the entire country is being strangled, which is an economic strangulation. And you could see that the people, the regular army, they're going to have the upper hand against the IRGC. They're getting weaker and weaker and weaker. And if Trump needs to take out more of the IRGC leaders, he will do this. Now, Iran knows this. Iran knows that they're suffering. Actually, the president of Iran came out and said, yes, we have economic problems here. It's getting worse and worse as time goes on. And I do believe that if they do not make a deal with Trump, he's just going to start taking out the IRGC leaders one by one. They've been tracking them. They know where they are, and he's giving them a chance, because eventually what's going to happen is the people and the regular army, they will overrun the regime, and there'll be a new faction that will take its place, and Trump will be able to communicate with that new faction, which I do believe he's been communicating this entire time. And remember, it's just a waiting game right now. He doesn't really have to do that much, but if he has to, he will. He will target all these people. And I think this is why the Middle Eastern countries stepped in and said, okay, I know you're going to bomb. I know you're going to go in there. You're going to destroy all the people and their weapons. Let's see if we can talk to them first. Let's see if we can convince them that there's going to be no way out of this. They've been tracking everything that you do. You will be destroyed. Now, again, just like criminals and dictators and deep state players, these people always believe that they have some type of upper hand. They always believe that they're in control of the situation, and they will fight to the very, very end. So will this communication between the Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, and UAE, and the rest, will it work? Well, these people are fanatics. They're crazy. And I do believe they'll probably end up saying, let's fight to the end. Hopefully they don't do this, but I do believe most likely they will. And what will Trump and Israel do? They will come in, because they've been tracking all these people. They will pick them off one by one. And the weapon systems that they've been moving, the weapon systems that they've been transferring, the weapon systems that they've been trying to hide, Trump, during this lull, he's been tracking them every step of the way. So he's ready. He knows exactly where they have everything, and they're prepared to go right in. Their stupid little boats that they have in the Strait of Hormuz do nothing. Trump is keeping the Hormuz shut for a reason, because he wants these players in Iran to fold. See, the reason why he has it shut is because he's strangling them. He's making them take a knee. He controls the strait. He's not going to open it up. He's going to keep it shut to show he has the strength. He's dictating this to them. I have the strength. I can keep it shut. You cannot open it. It's impossible. You could say you're going to pay, charge tolls. It's not going to work. I'm keeping it shut. Nothing's going to go in and out unless I say so. So you can put the propaganda out there. You could tell everyone, I'm going to charge tolls. I'm going to use Bitcoin. It's meaningless. He has complete and utter control. It's about taking the noose and making it tighter and tighter around their necks until they say, I give. And either they'll give or they'll be destroyed. It's their choice. That's the game he's playing. And the White House put this out and says, justice will be served. Enemies of America neutralized by President DJT, Maduro, Khamenei, Minuki, Castro. So basically, and that was the ISIS commander right before Castro. So right there, that tells you everything you need to know. Trump is removing the deep state players one by one. And you could see that the deep state players across the world, they're panicked because during COVID, the entire mission to push the pandemic actually backfired on them and actually hurt their entire agenda. What do I mean by that? Well, they tried to push vaccines, and you know what happened? People started to learn about vaccines. People started to reject the vaccines. people started to say, are these things safe? And now the people around the world, not just here in the United States, they're actually looking at vaccines saying, you know something? I really doubt that they actually work the way you're saying they work, and I don't want to take one. And you can see that the countries like New Zealand, countries like out in Europe or in Brazil, they're having a major, major problem right now. So what they tried to do with COVID backfired on them. Disclosed TV put this out and said, former New Zealand PM says misinformation is reducing vaccine uptake. Cites Gavi that found over 1 in 4 top vaccine-related Facebook videos about Pakistan's HPV vaccine rollout contained 27% misinformation, and that the comments were 40% negative and 17% supportive. So it looks like they're having a very difficult time pushing their fake information, trying to get people to take vaccines. Then we have Brazil's Secretary of Health and Environmental Surveillance and former WHO Assistant Director General attributes part of Brazil's vaccine hesitancy problem to Bolsonaro, as he was a denialist of both the pandemic of vaccines in general. So it looks like even if they try to push a pandemic right now or a plandemic, it's not going to work because the people, they're not on board. And it's not just here in the United States, it's across the world because they saw what they did here. And now it's all falling apart. Even with the WHO trying to push these fake plandemics, because again, what do they want? They want money from the U.S. They want U.S. to join. They want Argentina to join back up. But again, it's never, ever going to happen. Actually, Secretary Rubio confirms this. Nick Sorter put this out and said, Secretary Rubio just went hard against the World Health Organization. They failed miserably during COVID. They covered for China, and that's why we're getting out of it. Pull every penny from the globalist WHO. Absolutely. And you could see everything that Tedros is trying to do. It's not going to work. This whole entire plandemic push, they're not going to be able to get it off the ground. It's going to have no legs whatsoever, which means they're going to be shifting to something completely different. And let's see how that plays out. Now, the other thing that we could say, and all you got to do is look at how the parties vote and who votes for what to see who's part of the deep state system. Remember, the Democrats, the rhinos, they normally vote for what? The criminals, to mutilate children, keep crime on the streets, keep people coming over the border illegally. These are the things that they're all for, which means they're serving not the people, but somebody else. And again, this is how you know they're criminals themselves. Libs of TikTok put this out and said the House just passed legislation which would pull funding from schools who hide kids' gender transition from parents. Nearly every Democrat voted against it. The Democratic Party officially endorses transing kids behind their parents' back. These people are not for America. These people are against America, against the American people. And every day that passes, Trump proves it. And think about what just happened with the fraud. Well, their entire money laundering system is about to come down. And yes, Trump is starting at the bottom, going to work his way up. Remember, this is just the tip of the iceberg. And these are the front men and women that the deep state players use, because you have to remember every step along the way, as the money passes through all these NGOs, all these people above them, they're getting kickbacks. This is why they always look the other way, and they always have a fall guy or a fall gal to take the blame. See, they're going to go to prison, and all those people behind the scenes, they're not. But this time, it's different because Trump and team, they're following the money. Eric Doherty put this out and said, the Trump DOJ just announced a massive $90 million fraud bust in Tim Walz's Minnesota, with criminal charges being slapped on 15 defendants. This involves 7 state-managed Medicaid programs totally plundered by fraudsters. One program has $0 left. Tim Walz knew. AAG Colin McDonald, this is the beginning of our work in Minnesota. The fraud in Minnesota is shocking. Wait until they go ahead, they use the forensic accounting, and they reach who's involved in all this. This is how you know who's involved. Any attorney general, any prosecutor, any mayor, any governor who says we have no idea what was going on, they are involved. Because again, they pretend they don't know what's going on, because what happens is they get kickbacks along the way. The bottom rung they're the ones who are going to take the blame. Just like we saw this woman take the blame in Minnesota. Nick Sorter put this out and said, the mastermind behind the Feeding Our Future fraud scam in Minnesota has just been sentenced to 41.5 years in prison. Amy Bach orchestrated the $250 million scam during COVID, billing taxpayers for fake meals for children. Do you think it was just her? You think she's the mastermind? Do you think it's a lot more money than this? Absolutely. And you could see that it's all now going to start to fall apart. Remember, Trump is bringing down their money system. Without money, they can't operate. And think about what Trump did. He shut them down in the middle. He couldn't go all the way back to the Federal Reserve and say, hey, we're going to shut down the Federal Reserve. We're no longer going to take money from the Federal Reserve because that would destroy the economy. So you look at the middlemen. Who's the middleman? Oh, USAID, NGOs. Oh, the 14 computers in Treasury. Oh, Venezuela. Oh, Cuba, and many other countries that are involved in all of this. So if you shut down the money supply, what happens? They can't operate. If you start from the bottom and you work your way up and follow the money, how did this person get the money? Where did it come from? Oh, it came from this NGO. Where did this NGO get it from? Oh, let me see. Through the Treasury and through Scott Bessent. They track it to another NGO. Oh, I see. Oh, wait, it came from Tim Walz's office? Who in Tim Walz's office actually said this was okay? This is how you follow the money, and they're going to follow it all the way up to those people that have been pushing all this. And you're going to see it's going to go all the way back to the agencies in D.C., and it might even go, they might follow it overseas. It might go through Soros. It might go through many other areas. But again, you're going to see all of this happen. And this is how you shut down the entire money system. And eventually what happens once that's shut down, once all said and done, you can go after the central bank system, which I do believe Trump in the end is going to go to the source of all of this. But you can see the deep state players, they're going to continually push their agenda. And we have Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass, and she's just pretty much coming out and saying, listen, maybe it's time to let non-citizens vote in the election. Now, you have to remember, you have to ask yourself a simple question. Why would they even ever say this? Because they're dependent on illegals. They're dependent on non-citizens voting. Without them, they can't win an election ever. Period. The end. And this is why she's saying we need to explore it. Because once again, this is the only way they can actually win an election. Now, take what I just said and then move to the midterms. Trump is going to make it so they can't use any of the non-citizens, any of the mail-in ballots, any of the Social Security numbers. Everything that they had in place, they will not be able to use, which means they're not going to get the votes that you've seen in the past. It means their votes are going to be much, much lower than anyone could ever believe. Because when you remove all this, it's going to show something very, very different. And all these polls and all these different stations putting out the poll numbers, they're all fake. And people are going to see it as clear as day. Just like people saw Thomas Massie, who he was, what he was. And what's very interesting, he basically lost the race. But now, since he lost, and it's amazing, the deep state players, the Ds, they always do this. And yes, he's the Democrat. Once they lose, they say, you know what? Now is the perfect time to run for president. So wait a minute. You lost the race for the House, but now is the perfect time to run for president. Does that make any sense? But it seems that they have a plan that they're going to try to push. Tucker Carlson puts this out and says the Israel lobby takes out Thomas Massie and kills MAGA in the process. The good news is we've now confirmed how the system works. Cynical Puppy says, we're already seeing the plan. Run Thomas Massie as an independent presidential candidate in 2008 on the It's All the Fault of the Jews platform, split the conservative vote, and elect President AOC. It'll be like Ross Perot and Fritz Julius Kuhn had a love child who ran for president. The only problem with all of this is that as Trump shuts down their cheating, it's going to prove that these people never had votes in the first place. They never had a chance. They'll never win another election. And I do believe that's what Trump is going to show the people. And think about it. Before Trump was in office, did Thomas Massie ever mention Epstein? Did Ro Khanna ever mention Epstein? Did the D's actually ever do anything with Epstein? They never mentioned it. Ask yourself a simple question. Why? They were in control back then. Sean Davis says, Massey tweeted about Epstein a whopping 3 times before 2025, which is 3 times more than 0 times Ro Khanna mentioned Epstein before Trump took office in 2025. The sanctimony is a bit much given that their only interest in Epstein is using him to clout chase online. Absolutely. They knew people were interested in Epstein. They knew the MAGA movement was interested in Epstein. They used it, and they tried to use it against MAGA. It failed. It didn't work. I do believe that there are grand juries that have been impaneled, and yes, you will see Epstein information. I think this is why Trump came out in the very, very beginning, and he said to the judges, why don't you release the grand jury evidence? And of course, they didn't. I do believe you're going to see other evidence, and it's all going to be against the deep state players. And everything that they tried to do has completely failed, and it will continue to fail as time goes on. And think what just happened to a U.S. attorney in southern Florida who worked with special counsel Jack Smith. Well, it seems that she was indicted. Julie Kelly put this out and said, Acting AG Todd Blanche has indicted an assistant U.S. attorney in southern Florida who reportedly worked with special counsel Jack Smith in the documents case. Judge Aileen Cannon essentially placed Volume 2 of Smith's report on the case under seal, forbidding anyone at DOJ or any government agency from sharing the report. Why? Because she had dismissed the document indictment in July 2024 after concluding Smith's appointment was unconstitutional. But it appears this prosecutor, Carmen Lineberger, stole the report and tried to conceal what she did. A grand jury in Fort Pierce, the hive of the DOJ's grand conspiracy investigation, indicted Lineberger on 4 counts. Bigger question, who was she planning to leak the report to? Not like she stole it as a souvenir. That's interesting. And then she says the timing of Lineberger's theft of Jack Smith's documents report also is suspicious. She sent it to her personal account a few weeks before Smith's first deposition before House Judiciary. Democrats repeatedly raised the fact that Cannon had banned the report's release. Smith also addressed it during his congressional interview. At the opening of Smith's interview, an individual who appears to be a staffer for Jamie Raskin complained about Cannon's order prohibiting the release of the report. That's very interesting. FBI Director Kash Patel says this afternoon, a former managing assistant U.S. attorney who supported Jack Smith's politicized investigation of Trump has been charged with stealing the confidential investigation documents. Carmen Lineberger allegedly emailed the confidential material to her own personal email, disguising them as dessert recipes to conceal them from record searches. Lineberger is charged with 4 felony counts in the indictment. The FBI will not hesitate to bring to account those who violated the trust of the American people in an investigation that should have never been brought to begin with. It's always the cover-up that always gets you. Trump War Room says draining the swamp, and that is what you're seeing right now. The swamp is being drained, and it's happening very, very quickly. Now, the other thing that we could see is Trump is rebuilding D.C. And what's happening now is the people of D.C., doesn't matter if Republican or Democrat, they're noticing. And that's what's important. They're realizing that, wait a minute, I've been living in D.C. for quite a while. Fountains never worked. Crime was everywhere. You see, the people that live there, they see it every day. You can look at the fake crime stats that the fake news puts out and says there's nothing wrong there. But the people in these cities, they see it every single day. They understand what's really going on. And this is why Trump is changing everything. And Trump put this out on Truth. He says, I hope the public is watching as the Department of Interior, Doug Burgum, and myself are opening up many of the decades-old closed fountains throughout the D.C. area. So far, over 20 have been revitalized and fixed, looking better than the day they were built many years ago. We have some left. Some were in very bad and difficult condition, but we will get them all done in a short time. D.C. is being reawakened as to its beauty, elegance, and charm. The granddaddy of them all will be the reflecting pool. 2,500 feet long and almost 200 feet wide, the biggest such structure ever built, but also the most troublesome for many administrations, in that from the time it was built in 1922, it essentially never really worked. It leaked from all angles, grew dirt, grime, and decay, was often filled with garbage, and wasn't at all representative of the 2 great monuments it connects, the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument. But very soon, before July 4th, it'll be far better than it has ever been, even going back to as long as 1922, its original opening. The Biden and Obama administration spent over $100 million and made it far worse. It was only open for a short while during each administration before the leaks and decay took over. I, together with Doug Burgum and the Department of Interior, am fixing it the right and proper way. It will last for many decades into the future. We've had rain delays and had substantially increased our scope of work as to quality, durability, and even included the stone and granite on the outside of the water itself. A big job, much bigger than originally conceived, but it is being done. After over a century of stop and goes correctly, you will see something very special at the reflecting pool in the short period of time. Stay tuned. In the meantime, watch as the fountains open throughout D.C., fountains going up and crime going down. Also, watch for Lafayette Park directly in front of the main entrance to the White House. I have made a major contribution toward it. The fountains are now working and look magnificent as the park is being entirely rebuilt using far better and more beautiful materials than originally used. As the entrance to the White House, it's got to be spectacular. There is no other way. Again, check out what's going on at Lafayette Park, President DJT. And the people of D.C., they're seeing it. They're noticing it. They get it. Take a listen to what this one woman says.
Myself because I'm moving, but I've lived near Meridian Hill Park in D.C. for almost 2 years now. And the water's never been in the pond there. This has never happened before. I was always too afraid to come here because of the homeless people, but they're all gone. And it seriously looks like Paris. I mean, I've never seen this many people out here. I mean, look, everyone is enjoying it. Everybody. A year ago, Trump said he was going to clean up D.C., and he did. It is clean, it's calm, it's quiet, except for the Chipotle down in Navy Yard, apparently this weekend, but I wasn't there for that. The homeless are out. The birds are chirping. The water is in. The ponds. The fountains are working. Thank you, Mr. This is the benefit of having a construction man as your president.
And that should tell you everything you should know. The people are seeing it. The people are experiencing it. The people understand. And Trump is showing them it never had to be this way. And like we said before in our last report, it seems that Trump, he's building the ballroom to protect certain people when we go after the criminals. Now, Trump most likely will not be able to use the ballroom because, again, it's going to be built in September and his presidency is coming to an end. He might be able to use it once or twice, but actually, this is for future presidents to hold balls inside. But I do believe he's also building it to defend D.C. Defend D.C. against what? And Trump retruthed. Trump says ballroom roof will host drone empire to defend D.C. So it looks like he might be building this for two reasons. Yes, one, to have a base of operation, to have the ballroom used for the president, but also to go after the criminals and have a place where this area can defend D.C. from the riots, from the insurrection in the end. And we've said this many, many times before. Those people in politics, those people that are running to be a senator or a senator, those people in the House, those people that become mayors or governors, remember, your boss is the American people. You work for the American people. You don't work for lobbyists. You don't work for donors. You don't work for any of these people. Your only job is to uphold the Constitution and do what the people want. Cynical Publius says, "Dear United States Senators, all of you, you are not royalty. You're not the House of Lords. You are politicians, meaning your profession enjoys a public reputation below mafia lawyers and prostitutes. You do not have automatic lifetime tenure. You work for us, the people. You don't work for you. The sooner you figure all this out, the less painful it will be for you. Love, CP." And he's absolutely right. And this has to be expanded to any political position. The reason you're there is because the people elected you. The reason you're there is to do what the people wanted. You must abide by the Constitution. You must support the Constitution. And when you look at D.C. today, you understand why these people are not working for the people. Because again, if they're installed into these positions through the rigged system, the people are not their bosses. The criminals are their bosses. That's what you're witnessing. That's the system right there. And like we said from the very beginning, Trump on Truth put out Kalshi, and it says, who will win the presidential election? And it shows Trump 99%, Kamala Harris 1%. Think about why he put this out there. Is he showing that the D's, they really don't get any votes? Remember, when Kamala was running to be president, and this was before she was vice president, fake vice president, and she was running against the other candidates, she was polling at 1%. Is Trump letting us know that the D's, they don't get votes from the people? It's so low. It's insignificant. And when we have the elections, fair elections, people are going to see it. Real AF Patriot says the real 2024 election results are also going to be revealed. We're going to find out just how badly Trump destroyed Kamala in 2024. The real results of 2016, 2020, 2022, and 2024 are all about to be revealed. Space Force has it all. Stolen elections have consequences. I think he's letting us know. And Dan Scavino, like we said from the very, very beginning, he let everyone know that just because Trump is kind, willing, seems like he's doing things out of the ordinary, doesn't mean he doesn't know what he's doing. And it's the same within his administration. Just because they're kind, they're willing, and it seems like they don't do, that doesn't mean they're not on board. They're not following the plan. They know exactly what they're doing. Dan Scavino put this out and said, do not mistake my sincere kindness and willingness to do solid for POTUS, while always being an open and honest broker with everyone on everything as a sign of weakness. I've been doing this for 30 plus years with him. I assure you, he knows who has his back 24/7, 365. F around and find out. That's interesting. Now, he put this out at 9:11 p.m. And if you look at 2111, this is where it gets very, very interesting. Remember, Comey just let everyone know and told everyone that there are certain individuals within the FBI, stay the course, and will ride this out. Brennan let everyone know that they're sleepers within the CIA, that there's still people there. And I do believe that Comey sent a message to activate them. So if we look at post 2111, I think Scavino is letting us know that's pretty much exactly what he did. So here's James Comey's tweet going back, I think, all the way to 2018. Special Agent McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months when small people were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. He served with distinction for 2 decades. I wish Andy well. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. America needs you. Here's the James Comey tweet translation. Special Agent Andrew McCabe stood tall over the last 8 months. Do not talk. When small people, sheep, were trying to tear down an institution we all depend on. Cover. He served with distinction for 2 decades. We own you and your family. I wish Andy well, 187. I also wish continued strength for the rest of the FBI. General threat to others. America needs you. Activate sleeper cells. So is Scavino trying to tell us that Comey sent a message to the FBI and it wasn't to stay the course, but to actually activate and actually push against Kash Patel and everyone else when the time is right? It's starting to seem that way. And this is why Trump said, we're going to hunt them down. We're going to remove them. I think Trump and team, they're waiting for it. Absolutely. And like we said from the very beginning, from the title, what Trump is doing right now has never been attempted before. And he knew that there was an insurgency going on in this country. He knew there was a rebellion going on in this country. So looking at the war manual, how do you counter an insurgency? You create a counterinsurgency. Again, never been done. Here are 2 posts that explain it. Post 4082, May 3rd, 2020. Never in our history has this been attempted. Patriots worldwide simply needed a spark to reignite the engine. For humanity, where we go on, we go all. Post 4511. This has never been attempted. Use of general public to counter the narrative, propaganda, push by controlled media. Analysis, start to now, indicates situational awareness, decoupling of MSDNC, control of information channels 1 through 99, of general public expanding at massive pace. Attacks indicate can be defined as loss of generalized information control, need to expend ammunition, muster network to defend and coordinate attacks to counter, military civilian alliance. And that is what we're seeing. This is why Trump took the path he took, because he knew he needed to wake the people up. He knew he needed to control the flow of information. He knew that he needed everyone to believe and understand that the news is fake. And he needed to free social media completely to debunk anything that they're trying to do. He knew he needed the people to see the truth of the matter. He knew that he needed to get control of the military. He knew he needed to bring the executive branch, the presidency, the military, and the people together to fight this rebellion, this insurgency. And you could see that it is working. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.